look, today in this presentation, I'm going to show how we're adapting and sustaining student wellbeing support in the post-pandemic world. It's always been our philosophy here at the English Language Centre that wellbeing and learning can't be separated, that one supports the other. And obviously a more engaged class makes for better teaching and learning experience for both the teachers and students. So when COVID hit and in 2020, we didn't even have a wellbeing team. There were a few individuals, I being one of them, who just dealt with issues as they came up in student support. So we were working in silos actually in our place. And as soon as we were told we were going home, we started that wellbeing team. So that's a real positive that came out of COVID for our centre. So we just threw everything online, things that we were doing like a social club outside, we put it online. And we developed this team. We did wellbeing live to students, like taking them through our botanical gardens with our phone and filming things, and through the Central Market to connect them still with us, and that sense of to try and develop that sense of belonging. Our social club became chat with online Pictionary, and we also introduced phone calls every 5 weeks to students, just to check in on them because they were so far away. But, now that's changed. So what we needed to do is, look at the changing wellbeing needs of our onshore students. And for a while we were hybrid, but now we're pretty much all onshore, and make sure that what we're doing is effective. Also throughout the presentation, we've recently just got some results from our most recent survey, and I'll bring up some themes as they come along. But, going back to what we're talking about and what hinders good mental health, which was just discussed in the plenary, I mean, on the side there, regardless of whether the students are international or local, there's still a high degree of traditional pressures related to study. So all of these and on the side can relate to both, but we see it, and working in the international student space, these were issues pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. So, what are we going to do? Now, we don't have a beautiful looking framework like you and Helen and Dip, but we've got a basic framework. But our main aim is, being welcoming, inclusive and supportive. And from that, our framework there is, connection and community, trying to help students feel connected to the ELC and the wider Australian community. Let students know we care about them, that we want to hear their voices and what they have to say, that visibility, develop an inclusive study environment so they feel that, it's a safe place and that they're cared for, and support students' wellbeing and mental, sexual, physical health, and provide tools so they can maintain their own wellbeing. And very importantly, information that's easily accessible, because what was mentioned before, students, unaware, international students, of what's available and where they can access help. So our strategy is a whole centre approach, and it has been since the lockdown, and it still is. So we've reviewed this year what we were doing, and we've determined what's still relevant from our approach and what's fit for purpose, and tried to address changing wellbeing needs of the face-to-face student. So in this post-pandemic wellbeing support, I'm today just presenting 10 things that we're doing, and you might be doing these things, and you might be able to take away some of these things. But this is what makes up our approach, and some of them are old, and some of them, old as in the last 3 years, and some of them are what we're doing now. First thing that happened at the beginning of this year, we've got a new team, and this is our current team. From that, there's the original, I'm the only original one that was there in 2020, but people have either moved on or been seconded. So we've got this team that we've brought in. We've got from admin services and to operations, and myself, language and teaching. So a real synergy between the different teams at the English Language Centre. So we do meet once a week for 30 minutes only, just to catch up. We've got a quick agenda, go away with what we're dealing with. And it's been a great opportunity for our members for professional development, targeted professional development, which was also mentioned. in the plenary. So completion of the mental health first aid certificate over a 2-day course, ally training, which we've been able to access through our universities, because there's a real commitment at Adelaide Uni to provide an inclusive and respectful university environment for people who identify as LGBTIQ+. So we've done that training. And also I'm part of the Sexual Health and Sexual Harassment Network, the SARSHIN network. So we're sort of trying to professionally develop as much as we can, and it's been great for the members of the team. Also, they've delivered professional development at our English Australia PD Day, and it was the first time they delivered it at a sort of a conference. Excuse me. So the second thing, what we do, we do a wellbeing drop-in to every class at the beginning of each new teaching cycle. So usually like every 5 weeks, we've got a little presentation. We pop in so that students know who we are and why we're called the Wellbeing team and what we do, and support and connect them with us. So the focus, we tell them, is on them and their wellbeing. So you can see some of the questions that we've put up, and that thing about, we've found that students, no sticking your head in the sand, rather than, that early intervention. If something's happening, we're here to help and you can come and chat. And also to steer clear from academic questions. We make that very clear, that it's not about, their assignment or needing help with that. And so this is really a visibility thing for our team. And part of the latest survey, some of the responses we've got, the students said, I love the wellbeing drop-in sessions. Very grateful for them to come in. It makes me feel at ease. Provide some useful information, get updated information, good break from daily class routine. So that's something we share and we do every 5 weeks. As well as that, to keep this visibility of us and who we are, we have these open door drop-ins planned. So twice a week available. So students that may not want to say anything, the drop-in class things like 5 to 10 minutes. So if someone wants a more personable approach, they can just drop in. We've got a room booked Monday and Thursday to drop in for any questions. And they could be, this is where we provide information on different services that they can access at the university, like the disability services, counselling, making a GP appointment, health insurance, and Jen and Fiona, who are very well versed on that. So they very recognisable and approachable staff. So we've got these posters around the centre and on the room, so they know who we are and they can drop in. So that's our second one. And sometimes we've got nobody, and sometimes there's a lineup out the door. So it really varies. We also have wellbeing student ambassadors, and this is something we established during COVID, and we've continued. This is something we've really continued, and these are used in our 5 weekly drop-ins in our presentation. And what we've done is approach some of our exiting students to take on this role to increase the voice of students within our wellbeing strategy at the centre. Because it's always beneficial for students to be able to hear from their peers rather than it being a top-down approach as well. And advice, we asked them to make a little 3-minute video with some tips for studying and study life balance that they would like to pass on to other students, assisting the new students with how to be successful within the program from all an academic, social and wellbeing perspective. So, maybe, to join other things out that we've got going at the centre. So that's been great. And each time, and students, we've not really had anyone that said no yet. So it's great to use students there. The Wellbeing newsletter is something we have also continued, but we used to do one every week during COVID, and now we've cut them back to 2 every 5 weeks. We've been continually creating and revising and updating products. Topics. I've just finished doing the first one today, which is sending out next week on Adelaide. But we have usually attach a particular international day or event into it as well to give them a wider cultural focus, you know, things like Harmony Week, International Mother Language Day and different things, but sometimes like National Hobby Day down on number 13. So, and include what's on in Adelaide, things that they might like to do. And we end each newsletter, we include a section highlighting how to connect in with the ELC Wellbeing team and other support and resources and phone numbers, counselling out of our services and things like that for counselling if they need any assistance. So we weren't quite sure on how many students were reading it. So we're thinking, well, do we need to spend so much time? And again, in our survey results, the themes that came out of that is that they are reading it. Out of the last, I think there were 79 students responded and 75 said yes, they're accessing it. So comments like we get updated information, good break from daily routine as well, entertaining activities, interesting, good advice, help me with my wellbeing, something new, tells me what's on in Adelaide. So that's another one that we're continuing, and we finish always with our little photo at the end of it. Keep, you know, our visibility we think is really important. Number 6, wellbeing workshops. This is something we have developed and we integrate into the curriculum. So these happen in the classroom, and this helps develop wellbeing literacy and gives students the language to articulate if they are having some issues and they want to talk about them. It also aims to reduce the stigma around wellbeing and mental health. So these are all prepared for teachers, and you can see there the folders, the 5 different sessions, one every 5 weeks, and on the right or in the middle of the slide there, added resources, the presentation, the PowerPoint, some activities and a lesson plan. So teachers can go with them, and depending on what level their class is, they can adapt them. If they have to do some vocab work, those suggestions are made. So there's something that's straight away into the curriculum. And that's just a sample of one of the slides there. But we also have this wellbeing toolkit, 29 ideas for wellbeing and more. And every teacher has access to that. And that's like warmers and enders in lessons and things you can extend that may go longer or shorter. But it's now, it's been timetabled into our direct entry program at the moment. So, now it's definitely, and it's part of one of the outcomes and objectives in our program. So we feel has been a really successful move of integrating it into the curriculum. Number 7, global citizenship. So we still think that this is really important for our students to have that understanding of the wider world and their place in it. And so part of what we do, and this is with the synergy with the other teams like the learning and teaching team, because obviously the whole centre has to be involved. Events like Food Bank, last Christmas we did that. That was great. Students really got involved with that. The Australia's biggest morning tea, students organised that and what food was being brought in, and collection of money and other different activities or events like Harmony Day, Wear It Purple, Easter, Ramadan, Christmas. So we find that is a great thing. And that's, as I said, not just the wellbeing team, doesn't just fall on us, but we work with the other teams within the centre to get that going. Now, our Connections program, which used to be pre-COVID was our social club, during COVID was, our O Club. And so now we're back face-to-face. And these are a variety of fun events and activities around Adelaide, which happen outside of class time, and students need to sign up and register for these. We also have our volunteers who are students from the university, or even local community volunteers have put their hand up for this. We don't have a huge budget, and we used to have no budget and then a little budget, and we're aiming for more, obviously. But we also do ask students to pay a portion. We subsidise some of the activities so that they can really, if they register, there's a commitment there. And it's a great opportunity. We really advertise these as a place to practice language outside of the classroom, fluency and just meeting others. So I popped in a few photos. I mean, obviously it's the connection program, so connecting through sports. We've gone to some big games, baseball and football, and connecting through food. That's always a given. Any sort of idea of food, you can see on the left, we had a Tim Tam and hot chocolate day, pizza day, and then going out and sharing a coffee or going to a local pub. Outdoor activities, picnics on by the river, beach, picking strawberries, and through games and festivals, board games. So, we run them at either morning or afternoon. Sometimes students will miss out depending on what their program is, but we run them regularly. Now we're up to number 9, student watch list. Now this is just a copy of our agenda and minutes from a meeting recently to show what we run through in the 30 minutes. But the student watch list is something that's very new that we have there. We've got this from the classes that they're in and the particular students. So these students have either been referred on by a teacher to us, or through those drop-ins, or they've made an approach to us. So, and they can vary from helping a student get a disability action plan in the process going. So they've got one by the time, if they're a direct entry student, they enter university, and also provides evidence for us to make some adjustments to their assessment process. Other ones could be for various reasons. So those students stay on our list, and it's confidential, of course, but if it gets to a point we need to go back to the teachers, so they know that we're also watching them, and usually there's somebody at the end of each one who's following up, who's going to do something next with that student. So these are the ones that have sort of sought help or have been referred on. Once they've left, or the issues resolved, they get off the list. The list is now, we're just finishing one program, so that's a bit shorter of our meeting this morning. So, but that sort of, I think, has been something that we've found really useful to follow students and just see where they're progressing and what sort of help that they've been getting. And number 10 is our whole centre approach. So this is the welcoming, inclusive and supportive approach that we want. Some of this is with partnerships with different people in the university, but also outside the university. So it's real awareness raising. So it's signage around our centre and in classrooms and in the bathrooms. Recently, the period poverty signage and stations in the bathroom, so that there's a providing of pads and tampons because of that financial burden for a lot of students. We've also safe sex messaging. We've got there safe space posters, are you okay posters, mindfulness posters. Our action for happiness calendars up in every classroom and visible. The most recent partnership we've got with Pop-Up Health Adelaide, and they've contacted us and they're offering to come and set up a free COVID and flu vaccination clinic for our students. So we're in the process of trying to get that happening. So we just find that this, students who arrive, they're starting, they see a few of these signs and they think, oh, this is going to be a comfortable place, I feel good. And, I'm in the right place. So that's been something we've had going for a long time. We just keep adding to it. So getting towards the end, and I can't, because my phone keeps going off, I'm trying to time myself. I think I've got a minute. Our observations, challenges, considerations and opportunities. Obviously, always workload goes up for people who are on these teams. We discussed it, so maybe it's because we're doing the right thing and we are, working with that stigma, and students are coming forward and we're finding out about more, students are more comfortable talking to us. So it could be because we're doing a good job. So that's always going to be an issue. So but the people on the team usually that get on these sorts of teams are people who are really know about that and are willing, to work with that. Students' resilience, we find coming back. Students who are now in the classroom face-to-face, you know, they've been away from, well, now they're away from home, sorry. They've been at home for almost 3 years and isolating, and now they're back and they've had you know, they would have been here 3 years earlier, some of them, and now they've been looked after a bit more, those young adults who are not used to doing a lot perhaps themselves, and we're not sure what's going on there. We're finding that there seems to be less resilience. The English language levels, the ELP, we are not sure the language proficiency that came out in the plenary, and you know, the communication, sometimes a student who, you know, supposedly has that level of language but isn't able to communicate. So I know that our university, for a temporary measure, allowed students to have 3 years on whatever test they did. So normally it was 2 years from the time they did their test. So maybe that's part of the reason why their language levels, you know, they haven't used English since they did that IELTS test or that PTE test 3 years ago. So that's something we've observed of the students coming face to face. Student agency, like considerations, we, you know, through the surveys, and we've had a focus group before as well, but that student representation is where we want more work. We want to try and work out ways we can get students involved in the wellbeing team. We've had class representatives only in organising activities, and that's great, but can we have, and next year we're aiming for class representatives for all classes, but because courses begin and end, sometimes there's a high turnover, that's really hard, but maybe to get some people on the team would be great. So that's really my quick presentation to you of what we're doing, our holistic approach to wellbeing and mental health. I don't think there's any time for questions, Sophie, and I don't know if there are any because I'm not looking at